case you're new here, welcome. My name's Ren, and sometimes I draw stuff. So, it's been a while. I had a lot of good intentions going into the new year, but then January and February happened and just kind of tanked my mental health. And then I needed March to become a somewhat functional person again. And then the moment I was somewhat functional again, the new semester started, and that basically took precedence over all my creative projects, drawing, making videos, etc. Just my plate was very full, but alas, now I have time and I have come back finally, and I have returned with a video about something I personally really enjoy too. What a treat. Today we're doing one of my favorite things, which is painting with a limited palette. I say today, but this footage is already weeks old by this point, but it's alright. Today we are painting with a limited palette. And because I make the decisions around here, we're using one of my favorite color combinations, which is Opera Pink, Indanthrone Blue, and Raw Umber. Also, by the way, I'm doing a painting of my character Amaranthia in the background, in case you were wondering, but she's not really important today because I am here to talk about colors. Yeah, I just needed to paint something to get all my positive messaging about limited color palettes across. So this advertisement is brought to you by Amaranthia and also me. So yeah, my favorite color combination, let's start with the Opera and talk a little bit about that. As you can tell from the footage, Opera Pink is a pretty intense color. It's almost neon really, but that doesn't really show up on camera that well. Also, the one I personally have granulates a little bit. I don't know if that's typical of opera, I just have the one, so I enjoy the granulation. It's fun and spices up painting a little bit. But yeah, in general, any opera mix, so any time you mix like opera with another color, it turns into very luminous and beautiful mixes, in my personal opinion, which is why I like it so much. I have a bunch of other pink paints and pigments, but like opera has a very special place in my heart. If you are an opera hater, you are not valid. No, I'm just kidding. Color taste is extremely relative, and we all have our favorite and our least favorites. You know how it goes. So second color in this mix is another one of my favorites, obviously, Indanthrone Blue. It's very dark and a warm blue, but it's still pretty saturated as far as dark colors go, which is why I like it so much. Honestly, it might be one of my absolute favorite blues beside phthalo blue, which I love for its versatility as a mixing color and also for its hue, but this video is not about phthalo blue. This is not a phthalo advertisement. This is an advertisement for Indanthrone Blue. But yeah, Indanthrone Blue fucks immensely in my opinion, and I can only recommend it if you're in the market for a dark, sexy blue color. Yeah, it's just very nice. I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it. And last, and maybe even least in this case, we have Raw Umber. Compared to the other two, this one is kind of ugly and a lot less flashy. It's not exactly a color I would use straight out of the tube in most cases, but it produces very nice mixes with the other two colors. I especially appreciate that in combination with the Indanthrone Blue, it can create dark neutral hues up to a cool black, and that's the reason I have it on a lot of my palettes actually. There's obviously nothing wrong with solid blacks based on black pigments like ivory black. I have an ivory black on my palette, on my main palette even, but there's something more vibrant and interesting about blacks you've mixed yourself. There's like a subtle variation in color and some hue shifting going on with those you mix yourself, and that honestly adds a lot of interest when you paint with them. But also, it genuinely can just be kind of a hassle to mix them yourself every time. Which is why I keep a ready-made black on my palette. But yeah, this is why the Raw Umber is here. It's here to mix like a nice black, but it's also here together with the opera to mix some nice skin tones, because that's also something it's nice for, but you need like a vibrant pink color, like an intense pink or an intense red, in combination with the raw umber to get any like passable skin tone from them. Also, yeah, I didn't mention this, but obviously Opera and Indanthrone together create absolutely gorgeous intense purples, and as a purple enjoyer, this brings me a lot of joy, and this is also why I love using them together, because the purples are so interesting, especially with the little granulation that Opera has going on. It's very, very pretty. Anyway, you might have noticed something about these specific three colors, which is that they basically form kind of a bastardized version of a primary color palette. Obviously, Opera is standing in for the standard magenta you'd have, which is typically a cool red. Then Indanthrone is here to substitute the typical cyan blue, and the raw umber is taking the place of yellow for us. Just in this case, a very dark and desaturated yellow. Altogether, these three allow for a wide range of mixes while still keeping all the colors mostly harmonious. Obviously, there is a lot you can do with color triads which aren't this obviously reminiscent of primary colors, but the closer your triad is to the traditional primary color palette, the more varied your possible mixes become. But that also makes them a little less cohesive. And really, that's a big thing about limited palettes. While they are, as the name suggests, limiting your choices as to what colors you can include in any given painting, they guarantee you a cohesive looking result by the end, without having to put in any additional effort on your part. So if this is something you struggle with, like if you often end up with colors that are kind of all over the place in your paintings, this is something I really recommend. Like, limiting your colors from the get-go can help make your work so much less eclectic. And obviously, a limited palette doesn't need to be this limited. It doesn't need to be like 3 colors only. You can also do a lot of interesting stuff with like 4, 5, or 6 colors. I personally have one of the M. Graham like 5 color sets that I'm playing with at the moment, and I absolutely love it. It's really interesting. You can do so much more with like 5 colors than just the 3, but it's still like they still work together really nicely. Another thing that I would recommend limited color palettes for is understanding color theory. Having so few colors available to yourself actually forces you to mix them together to get to other colors, which then leads to you getting a lot of hands-on experience of how these colors interact and how to use the limited colors you have to achieve the effects you're looking for. You can read up all you want on color theory, but the practical experience is, in my personal opinion, invaluable. I can say this from experience. I spent a lot of time in my life just looking at resources on color theory because I'm really interested in color. And, you know, from reading up on it, I felt like I had a strong grasp on it. But only when I actually put that theory into practice and played with paints a little bit more did I feel like I actually solidly understood it. Like, I am way faster at just mixing the exact colors I want now, and I guess it helps to strengthen whatever knowledge you have on color theory already. And it's also, I guess, a lot more fun than just reading about it. You know, you get to play with colors, you see all the pretty mixes. It's just a good experience all around. Of course, the small downside is that any limited color palette in the end requires you to put at least some thought into what you're doing before you start painting. Either you already know what you want to paint and then you can go from there and choose some colors you think will work with what you're going for, or if you select your colors first, like I did in this case, you might want to put some thought into what subject you'd like to paint with them so that the colors actually work for your subject. For this one, I chose my character Amaranthia specifically because she has pink hair, which works really well with the opera, but also she wears a lot of purple and blue and black and dark moody colors, and that character design lends itself very well to this combination of paints. If I tried to paint a character whose design includes very saturated yellows and oranges and like warm colors, I'd be kind of fucked with this palette. Like, of course I could do it, but it would end up very moody and desaturated looking. You just can't get the strong yellows and like oranges with this. You just can't. But yeah, limited color palettes, I am a great supporter. Generally, I think they're great and amazing. However, yes, you do need to use your brain at least a little bit beforehand. Anyway, thank you for watching my advertisement for limited color palettes. I love them dearly, and I hope I could pass on at least some of that enthusiasm onto you. If you have some favorite limited color combinations, then I would love to see them in the comments, because you bet your ass I want to try them out. I am always looking for new interesting limited color combinations, so please, if there are some that are dear to your heart, let me try them out. I want to. Please. But yeah, I've been going on for long enough, I think, at this point. I hope you have a very pleasant rest of your day, and I hope to see you around.